Welcome to the Power Lunch Podcast, your midday dose of boldness, brilliance, and a little bit of badassery. I'm Amy Souza, here with my powerhouse co-hosts, Tracy Muntz and Lisa Carmichael, and we're coming in hot to shake things up. Each week, we dish out bite-sized, high-impact conversations on business, health, purpose, wealth, and the wild, beautiful chaos in between. Whether you're building your dream, rebooting your story, or just catching your breath, this is your space to get grounded, inspired, and reignited. This isn't just another podcast, it's your power move. Let's go.
Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. Our guest today is proof that your hardest chapter can become your greatest calling. Kristen Thibeault is a chef, author, and speaker, and one of the pioneers of the plant-forward food movement. She trained at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. She studied nutritional science at Stanford and has cooked for everyone from world champion athletes and Hollywood A-listers to families living in food deserts. She's a stage 3 double cancer survivor who credits clean, plant-forward eating with saving her life and turned that into a second chance into Nibble, a multi-million-dollar company, and the Patra Project, which has donated over 100,000 meals to families in need. Her latest mission is the 120 life, helping us live longer, fuller, and more vibrant lives. Kristen, I'm so glad you're here. I just love seeing your face. So thank you. Welcome. That's a
Thank you
lot.
so much.
I said this at the beginning. I was like, she is like Google heaven. Like anybody that gets to download your name, there's just like this plethora of information. So tell us a little bit, like you grew up in middle Minnesota and you went off and became, this beautiful chef that has worked in some really amazing places. I think you said you ended your career as a chef, really, like a day-to-day chef at the Four Seasons. And then you went off and you and your husband built this beautiful catering company. But life has kind of changed for you. And now you're in this new phase. So there's so much to unpack here, but let's start a little bit about you.
Okay, a little bit about me. Let's see. So yeah, like you mentioned, I'm Minnesota born and raised. Spent most of my youth in a very small town in southern Minnesota. And, along the way, just had the blessing of being touched by different people in my life that created in me this desire to always try to do more. And I think before we back all the way up to the very beginning and do that whole story, the essence, I think, of my life has been that it is a series of chapters, and those chapters always sort of beget the next in a really beautiful way. So I have sort of had this wonderful journey through very different iterations of myself. I went to the University of Minnesota. While I was there, I had the chance. Before that, I was an exchange student in Germany for a year, then went to the University of Minnesota, had the chance to live abroad during college. And so right away, pretty early on, from traveling from a young age, was really just given the chance to see the world and think a little bit differently, maybe, and always being open to the possibility that there's a new way to see, think, or do something. And that has been my life's journey. And so it's taken me from starting off in the beauty industry. One of my very first jobs was at the Body Shop, 30-ish years ago. And from there, I went on to work for Aveda, which is an amazing organization. I was there for almost 10 years, working side by side with Horst Rechelbacher, and got to see the world and travel with him and live an incredible beginning of my career. And then from there, I was, I guess, fast forward a bit, and I had a double stage 3 cancer diagnosis about 18 years ago. And at that moment, when I was given 2 or 3 years to live, I had this realization of, oh my God, if that's what I got, what am I going to do with that little bit of time? And made the decision that I needed to follow my life's calling, which was to become a chef. I had always been the person in my friend circle and in family that loved to cook and loved to explore cuisine. And I'm a foodie at heart. And I thought, you know what, if this is it, God, if you can give me the chance, I'm going to live my life purpose, my life dream. And so I set out on the next iteration or the next chapter. Fast forward 18 years, and I've lived this beautiful life as a chef. Like you mentioned, my last real chefing role was executive chef at the Four Seasons in San Francisco, which was an incredible experience. Hard as heck, but an incredible experience. And then I went on to build a food company and a nonprofit called the Patra Project. And recently, about 2 years ago, when we met, Tracy, I was sitting and thinking about, what's next? I turned 60 in a couple weeks, and yeah,
Woo,
60.
yeah.
And I was sitting there a couple years ago, and I was like, what's this next chapter going to be like? And I realized that I feel like I had come to completion with food and done all the things I had set out to do, and was reminded by Tracy and some other friends of mine that I was in a mastermind with that back when I was diagnosed with cancer, in telling the story to them, I was actually sort of given, like, almost like channeled, if you will, this notion of living to 120, because it just wasn't possible to sit and think about life as 2 years left to live. I couldn't be that. I just couldn't. So I set out on this in my mind of I'm living to 120. I'm living to 120. So fast forward 18 years, and I realized that gave me so much more than hope. It gave me also, quite honestly, the direction that my food company went. It gave me so many things around what we need to do to live to 120 and beyond. And so out of all of that, long story short, again, I know it's a little bit of a long rant, I guess, the 120 Life was built, and that's a community that we're working on right now. So.
Oh my gosh. First off, I heard so many things in what you just said. First off, travel at a young age. And that's something
Yes.
that you do with your children. You have two beautiful boys. I love them so much,
Mhm.
Xander and Zach,
Mhm.
Zakiya. And that's one thing that you've implemented in your life is that
Mhm.
travel at that younger age expands our horizons. And it tells us that, the way that we've been taught, there's so many more options out there. There's so many different things. The other thing is first off, your birthday is in 1 month and 2 days. Just saying that you have 32 days to make some changes if you need to. Let's go.
I got to get
Our
moving.
birthdays are 2 days apart from each other. So the other thing is I want to share something about what you were saying about the different chapters in your life. And I heard this recently, and this might help some of our listeners is that so often when we're hitting these milestone birthdays or hitting our birthdays and it's another year, you're just adding another year. I heard this from a speaker and it really resonated with me, and I will share it, and I'm owning it. So I am not turning 58. I am graduating from version 5.7 to 5.0. So it's a version shift. And when we do version shifts, it doesn't feel like, like, I mean, you're in 6.0. You're
Mhm.
version 6.0. Like how beautiful that feels that we get to, because with every new version, there's new tweaks. We don't throw away everything. We don't look and dismiss everything. We really look at what works. What am I taking into this new version? What am I releasing from the old version? And then how can I make this newer version even like that much better? So
Yeah.
I love that. And then the other thing I want to touch on, first off, I heard like you're a feeder. You're like,
Mhm.
that's where you have been. And I am too. I'm a feeder. But as we're
Mhm.
transitioning into this new version of whatever this life is, we're going from feeder to teacher. And that's
Mhm.
really that age that we're at, this wisdom, this wise woman that gets to explode out of us. We're still feeders, but we feed in a different way. I'm still giving you nutrition, but how is that showing up? It may not be on this plate. It may be through my book or my podcast or, however that is. But what I really want to touch on is your mentors, because you
Mm.
don't get through all the things and get to the levels that you got to without having some pretty amazing mentors. So
Mhm.
touch on a little bit about the necessity of having mentors and how that showed up in your life and how it still shows up in your life.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's really, I think, such a great thing to talk about, and to me, so important. I was blessed very early on in my life to realize that and to learn that I needed those people in my life that, not only propped me up, but pushed me forward. I'm a strong believer and follower of the belief that you are either stagnant or moving forward, right? There's no such thing as really going backwards. You just get stuck. And so you have to make the conscious choice every day. And this came from one of my most significant mentors. Every day we wake up and we choose to move forward. And whatever that moves us into, that is up to, what's divinely in our thoughts and what we put into action with what we hold, right, into what we manifest. And that can change, and that can be so many different things, but it's really about moving forward. And one of the keys, I think, to moving forward is to being of the mindset of constantly learning. And the only way you can do that is to have mentors. You have to surround yourself with people that are better than you, that are stronger than you, that push you forward, pull you sometimes, and hold you accountable. So, I've very early on, I'll go back to when I was in my early 20s. I had a gift of actually being hospitalized because I was suicidal, and had gone through a lot of things in my youth that at the time felt overwhelming to me. And the gift of that time in a place where I was stuck for a while, 6 weeks, and locked up, gave me my very first experience of a true mentor, in that I became exposed to through reading and learning people like Wayne Dyer, for example, who is someone I have followed and love. Uh, uh, I learned from Napoleon Hill, for example, back in the day, Think and Grow Rich, things like those, just incredible. And from there, I kept moving. And actually, I should actually go back and say that in reflection recently, I realized that I had my very first mentor was Ingrid Liedman. She was my seventh grade English teacher. Yeah, and she changed my life in so many ways. She gave me that inspiration to travel.
Mm.
Growing up in a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, basically on a farm, with not a lot of opportunity around you. She was this like incredibly brilliant teacher. How she landed in the middle of Minnesota, in the middle of, I have no idea, but she pushed me constantly, constantly pushed me and would say, Kristen, you're meant to do more. You're meant to do more. Yes, you need to go travel. Kristen, take that exchange student thing. Kristen, apply for that speaker thing. Kristen, go to Girls Nation. Do these things when I was young, that were really outside the box. And then when I was traveling in Germany, she came to visit me, and I had not enough money to do much. And I was, what was I, 17. She took me in this little tiny car. She rented a Citroen and took me around Europe with her. And I remember one day saying, how am I ever going to pay you back? And if you can believe this is back 1984. She said, you know what? You don't pay me back. You pay it forward to somebody else. Do it for somebody else. And she changed my life. Like those moments changed my life. And that sort of started me on this path where I live from that place of traveling constantly, exploring, learning. If I see someone that I admire, I try to figure out how they can become my mentor. Much like our relationship, Tracy. When I met you, I realized I have so much to learn from this amazing person. I am going to put myself in the position to get to know this person. And I do that as often as possible, sometimes with people like you and I, and sometimes with someone like a Horst Rechelbacher or Deepak Chopra, or different people that I have spent quality time with in my life. Anita Roddick, I was blessed to sit at her dining table, around her kitchen table, and talk with her and her husband, Gordon, and her children, who now are acquaintances of mine, back when I was in my 20s. And it imprinted on me forever. And so I constantly am seeking out new mentorship and new ways to learn. And I wake up every morning. I'm an early riser. I wake up at 4. And the first thing I do before I do anything else is I meditate. And I also intake something, whether it's a podcast or learning or an original. Like this morning, I was listening to Nightingale 1954 recording of him talking about Napoleon Hill. Right. And it gives me that mentoring that I need every single day to take another step forward in the direction of my own dreams. Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
Also what I've heard from you too, Kristen, is that life has happened to you. A lot of life has happened to you. And you, like you said, each chapter you've learned from it. I'm at version 6.2, but I had an aha moment that all of us are really at midlife. And I think, 10 years ago, we didn't have social media to announce that we are going through midlife, and we are living longer. So when I turned 60, I thought of it as, I'm only halfway there.
Amazing. I love that that's your perspective. And that is, I think if we could support people in getting to that place as often as possible, it's halfway. It's the beginning of that next beautiful chapter. It's, we used to, it used to be 74, 75. That was it. That was the cutoff, right? And now we know, like, it's incredible. Dr. Diamantis said the other day, if you're alive in 5 years, you have the opportunity to live to 140. That's the number they have right now, if you're alive in 5 years. So what we know is all of our children, our grandchildren, they all are going to be here so much longer. And the mindset of I'm halfway, right? That mindset that you have, Lisa, that is what's going to drive you and the people around you to want to do the same thing. I found that with our community, the 120 Life community, just the talking of her, just like Tracy's wearing the 120 necklace. I need to send you guys one too.
I have a couple. I'll get it tomorrow.
Just the shift of that thinking, right? Of like, oh, wait, I can live to 120. I want to live to 120. And then everybody around you going, yeah, let's do it. It's an amazing shift culturally, I think.
I think it's interesting, though, with that is when I start to talk to people, and I've been talking about living to be 120 since I hit 30, because, whoa, I made it to 30. I guess I'm going to live longer because I didn't think I'd make it to 30. Is that there are two schools of thought. There's the I don't want to live that long, or or I'm absolutely going to live that long. And the people that say they don't want to live that long, they don't want to do the work that would be necessary to live that long. And that's really what it comes down to, is that if you're going to live to be 120, we can't keep abusing our bodies. We can't keep putting crap into it and expecting this vessel to live to be 120. Because the reality is I don't want to be 120 and laying on a bed because I can't move. So and then also it's the mindset. It's the mindset that happens when we get older. So what are the 3 to 5 pillars? I know there's pillars to the 120 life. Walk us through that, because again, it starts with that mindset shift change, because nobody wants to be a burden. And we see these older people, and I'll be honest, they haven't taken care of their bodies enough to be in a vitality sense, right? And nobody wants that. So how do you teach that?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to back into it a little bit that you said that's really important is it's a mindset. I think that's the first thing. Now, listen, I'm a double stage 3 cancer survivor, thriver. I could get hit by a car. My cancer could come back. There's all sorts of things that can happen. But the mindset shift is, I think, the most important thing. And I think in conjunction with the fact that people don't want to live that long because they abuse their bodies and they can't imagine what it's going to be like to be 120 and be, bedridden or whatever. That's one piece. But the other piece of it is that they're living in the people generally that you meet that go, oh no, I don't want to live that long. They're living in a life where they wake up every day on the same side of the bed. They do the exact same thing. They brush their teeth. They eat the same meal. They think the same 60,000 thoughts every single day, and they don't do things that trigger possibility. They don't do things that trigger excitement, adventure, the feelings that we know keep us moving forward, right? That idea of that if you're not moving forward, you're stagnant. And as soon as you're stagnant, life is pretty dull and life is pretty predictable. And that mindset keeps us in this place of, I can't imagine doing this for another, what, you want to add another 30 or 40 years of this? Like, no, but it's that they're not just not seeing the possibility of how you step out of that. So the 4 pillars, inside the 120 community, we've been doing a lot of research over the years and looking at places like the blue zones and where people live to right now 100, 110, supercentenarians 115 and beyond. What are the commonalities? And those have been identified across, Harvard has done, a 35-year study on happiness around those people that live longer. Dan Buchner has done with the Blue Zone. There's just numerous people that have studied this core group of people. And what we found is they all have 4 things in common. And I've created the acronym of, very simply to remember, is they love the self. They've learned how to love self, and self is an acronym. So for 4 pillars of living to 120 and beyond. So the first is they savor their sleep in silence. People that live longer, people that no matter where they are in the world, that live longer, sleep and rest at least, 7.5 to 9 hours a day. And they've understood how to be with themselves in silence, whether that's meditation, church, whatever that is. They've found the connection to their inner voice, to their inner God, their inner universe, and they've learned to be in silence. So savor their sleep in silence. That's the S in self. E is eat and exercise as if your life depends on it, because those 2 things are such enormous predictors of your ability to live not just a long life, but a healthy life. What we put in our body, what you just ate is really who you are, right? Like that is such a critical thing. And movement. And I'm not saying you have to be in the gym every day, because that is certainly not one of the predictors of a long life. It's not that you have to run every day, but you walk, you carry your groceries, you are outside in nature, moving your body. So eat and exercise as if your life depends on it is the E. The L in self is love, laugh, and leave more than you take. It's your sense of community, your sense of responsibility for someone outside yourself. It's having that light heart, that friend and family connection that keeps us going. And that actually right now is considered the number 1 predictor for living a long life and having a beautiful health span, is who you surround yourself, and do you do something for somebody else? Are you sitting in your house, in your town, in front of your TV, watching your life pass you by, or are you out and about, and are you making a difference in somebody else's life? That is a huge predictor. So the L is love, laugh, and leave more than you take. And then the final one is focus on your future frequency and your financial well-being. So it's sort of a double whammy F for there, because we had to cram those in because we want to stick with 4 pillars, but we have a lot to talk about. So those are things that we understand are also very important for a long, healthy life. Are you focused on something in the future? Do you have something to look forward to? When Harvard studied people that are in the happiness study, when people have studied across every culture, and they ask the question, what do you think predicts why you're still here at 110, 115? It's because I wake up in the morning and I have something to look forward to. My future frequency. I'm focusing on that. And then also, of course, what we've come to realize, which often many of us, and I am also in that circle at 60, if I'm going to live to 120, I need to make sure that I've thought about my financial needs, right? Because our society, especially in the United States, has not been set up to make sure that I'm going to live that long and have the money to live that long. So we have sort of folded in to this story the idea that we need to have a financial plan and a financial idea and some sound security, not millions and millions, but just enough that we're comfortable, however we define comfort. So that's the F in love yourself, which is sort of the 4 pillars of the 120 life.
Oh my gosh, Kristen, that is just so beautiful and so well thought out. Just amazing. I don't know if this is really part of the conversation, but I am curious. How did you get cancer? How did you end up with cancer? With this life that you've lived? I mean, was it a mindset or what?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I am of a certain school of thought. And I know not everybody that's listening to this will agree with me, but, and it's somewhat controversial for some people, but I believe we manifest what we believe and what we hold in our heart and what we hold in our head. And I came out of, some abuse in my background and some deep sadness and mental illness in my family. And I carried those things forward for a period of time in my life. And I believe that cancer is a manifestation of sadness and sickness and dis-ease in our body. And yeah, so I had,
Okay.
I manifested myself. So that's my belief. And I believe that just as I manifested it, I can change and manifest something else, which is why I'm 18 years cancer free. Our bodies rejuvenate. Every single cell rejuvenates every 7 years. I'm not the same person threefold from when I had cancer. So the other thing that I believe is that people sometimes hang on to an identity, whether that's I'm a cancer survivor. I try not to hang on to that identity very much. I believe
you said thriver.
Thriver, right? But I that's sort of my core belief is if I have it in my mind, I'm going to hold it in my hand. So
thanks for sharing that. My mom passed away from cancer, so I was just curious, and I've always believed that as well, but I don't know that the doctors would agree with that philosophy.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't believe that philosophy, and and I've come to terms with the fact that that is totally okay. It's me and my heart of hearts of what gets me up out of bed every day and has me knowing that I'm going to be here to 120, right? Because that story,
And beyond.
we can change
And
our
beyond.
story.
You can't die at 120 because
I
you're
won't.
2 years older than me. So I need you to
Right.
die at 122. So that way I never, Winnie the Pooh has a saying, I hope I live to be 99 and you 100. So I never have a day
No.
without you in my life. So
Yeah.
you can only live to 122.
Our spirits will carry through this lifetime into the next and
As
the
it
next
did
iteration
before.
of these spirits together. So we've had many
I'm just
lifetimes
bummed that
together
it took
already.
us this long. We need to negotiate how to find each other at childhood in our next life.
Right.
You said so much, and Amy, I want to give you an opportunity to talk. I just so mindset is something that is it's entwined in everything you just spoke about, right? Like
Yes.
everything. It is how
Everything.
speak to ourselves. It's how, what words are up here, even if they're not coming out, it's still you are a master at that. Master manifester. You say that something's happening and it does. One thing that I'm really just want to give you just all the accolades for, and I'm putting it out into the internet right now so that way it does still happen, is that you have a pretty audacious goal for yourself for in your movement right now. So before Amy gets in, I want you to share what your movement goal is right now and how beautiful it will be when you are actually completing it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll start by saying that I think the key to manifesting is not just hoping and wishing and thinking and talking about things, truly putting those words into action and then the discipline and honestly the obedience to your purpose, I believe are the things that get us to manifesting things, which is why I believe I've had a lot of great success in my life around the things that I want to manifest. It's hard work and discipline for sure. But so my vision for the 120 life is that we are a global movement with millions of people involved around the world. We actually just really started to put down roots in this idea that we'll create intentional living communities around the world for people that are multi-generational. So this is not just about people that are getting to 60 and beyond, but really multi-generational that want to live in community with purpose around loving self and the notion, all of the things that we believe in the 120 community. And our first one is going to be here in Southern California. We live in a blue zone. Actually, I have a ranch in Southern California. And so our first will be here, and then we'll go to Italy, Costa Rica, Japan, and just create beautiful spaces where people can come if they are nesters, maybe they live with us in community. If they are nomads, maybe they come and go and they move through all the different spaces. But yeah, that's the big, audacious, hairy goal that we have for this community, is to really be a movement.
Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today. Your message really hit me hard. I'm just sitting here in awe, and I can't wait to meet you.
I can't wait either.
I
I'm
know.
so excited to meet you.
She keeps threatening that she's going to show up in Minneapolis.
I will.
So Kristen, you're writing a book.
Yes.
You have a website right now. Tell us a little bit about how we can find you, how we can get involved more, how we can get one of these necklaces.
Yes.
And then I really, like, if you're not following her on social media, please, everybody, we're going to put it in the show notes. Follow you on social media. I really enjoy your posts. Number one, you talk a lot about your kids, like what they're doing in their life. But one of the things that you and I have in common is our love for travel, exploration, adventure. And we are both part of a travel group that is doing exactly the longevity, where we're hosting retreats coming up and stuff like that. So tell us just a little bit about how we connect with you more, because this conversation is far too short for an
Thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity to connect with everybody. Yeah, I'd love to meet anybody that would love to chat about the 120 life or their own journey. I love hearing the stories of people's journey through this amazing life. I have a website called the120life.com. My book should have been out a while ago, but God's divine intention means that I keep learning things and I keep adding to the book. So every day I'm like, wait, I'm not quite ready. But you can go to my website, and the book is in pre-sale right now, and you get a necklace. No problem. I would love, the more the merrier, that carry the necklace. And please always take a picture of yourself with your necklace and then share it with me. And we have a collection of those on the site as well. And yeah, so Tracy and I are involved in this amazing travel club that we adore. Tracy or I are happy to chat with you more about that, but Trace is we're both doing so much fun things. We have a retreat coming up November 5th. We're doing our first 120 Life Longevity Retreat in partnership with Dream Trips in Italy. We start in Rome. Tracy will be with us, and I will be there, and just great people. So that's one way you can definitely connect with all of us around the community as well.
Yeah, we have a really great WhatsApp that meet, and and one thing that I love about that WhatsApp community that Kristen and the 120 Life have created is almost every single day, Kristen, who is an early morning riser, the first thing you do is you connect. You connect with spirit, whatever that name is, but you go into silence, right? And that's such a beautiful thing. But then the second thing that you said you do is you ingest. I ingest from someone else rather than ingesting from something that is depleting us. You are feeding your soul right away in the morning, and you do that every single morning.
To join our community, Tracy, make sure you add them if they reach out to you on your podcast, and everyone is welcome. It's our Transformational Leadership WhatsApp, and I would love to have you join. So,
thank you, Kristen.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Kristen. Tracy explained who you were, but you're a beautiful human being, and what you're sharing is so amazing.
I love you. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. If something we shared sparked a new idea, gave you a fresh perspective, or simply made you feel seen, We'd love for you to pass it on. Share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or a fellow powerhouse woman who's walking her own journey. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep rising, and remember, there's no ceiling you can't break through.